Hello? So, these Thursday streams are where I play games sent in by anyone. Not always members of our Discord like I did yesterday, but anyone. They need to be work in progress games. They can't be like fully out, you know. I try to focus on games that are not at the stage where the developers are charging money for them yet. That's kind of the focus of this Thursday stream and the sort of heart of the channel. Hi Tim, hi Stanley, hi Lawyer. And yeah, this is a game that's been in the queue for a little while and it looked like a slower, longer game, so I thought I'd give it its own stream. Sporebloom, Mycelium Master, sort of a strategy game about mushrooms, about being a mushroom. So we'll see how we get on with this. Seems like a very art-driven project, very kind of nice character and world art already. I guess we really just need to see if it stands up very well as a strategy game about mushrooms. Trying to get into the game as quickly as possible. Someone left a comment on yesterday's stream that was like, it took 6 minutes to get to the game. Like, wow. I think if you saw other areas of streaming culture that aren't necessarily about games or, you know, commentary on different things, the amount of rambling involved in them is very high. So Sporebloom is still in active development, blah 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 blah. 2-part tutorial, single player missions world 1. Okay. Some of this stuff, I guess people will know what meta progression means, but it kind of feels a bit indoor baseball the way that this is presented. Let's do the tutorial first. Yeah. I hid them from the channel. I've got a new rule, basically, that if someone leaves a comment and their first comment is, like, rude or just critical in a way that I don't think is constructive or framed in a polite way, I just mute them from the channel. And, yeah. Just because I think that's a really good way of making a bad first impression and showing that you're not like a sociable person that cares about, you know, having any sort of long-term positive input into a community. I think if people do that, if the first thing they say to you is just really dismissive and rude, you can just mute them forever. I think it's fair. Mycelium runs through the earth, forming vast networks. Organisms that can form delightful blooms. I require your help. Together we can shepherd them, observing their niche and maybe even discover novel specimens. Look at him. Look at them. I'm assuming mushroom people are non-binary. Look at them. They're dummy thick. The secret, their spores. I'm sure you are familiar with seeds. Once we uncover how they achieve their incredible fitness or survivability, we can store that knowledge in the amazing Zygobank. Ooh, we both made it. Let's start with some navigation. I think giving these guys some sort of animalese as their text types out, like a would add a lot of character here. Like almost like a, I sort of imagine them speaking almost like a balloon scratch noise, like that type of thing. That would fit very well with the character designs. The trick is to make sure it only plays per the letters typed out and not keeps going, because I had an issue with that in a game recently where someone had just made a talking loop that went wah, 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 and it carried on going even after the text should be finished, which felt really bad. Okay, we've got a grid. We don't have a full hexagon grid. We've got some empty spaces, and that looks like that's where the mycelial network has not spread out because we can't build there. Right, you can, okay. Mouse wheel to zoom in or out. controls feel quite intuitive. You're teaching them anyway, but they feel like mapped onto the thing you would expect them to be mapped onto, which is good. Nutrients are those green numbers, and your mycelium networks can collect them. Okay. Collect 8 nutrients with your mycelium networks. Don't mind if I do. Okay, this is my actual mycelium network. So these roots aren't that. Okay. Networks can expand to an adjacent tile. I'm going to go over this way because this has more connectors, I guess. This one has more connectors than this one because this is just to there and that one's to both of those, I think. I think that's... okay, it's turn-based. We're spending energy to move stuff around on the grid. The map has bloomed. Okay, so the map grows and creates these new spots. So we're sort of doing like an area control type game from what I can see so far. Since tiles are limited to 1 action per turn, utilize both networks. So these are both networks. I don't know if... yeah, I think one of the things to think about with this game is like what things are called. So I think that's something we'll sort of think about as we go through. Like whether what things are called is intuitive. I can consume some detritus. Wonderful. Because if these are all linked together... Oh, we've got Ollie. We've got Ollie Gembash in the chat, who is So Ollie is a friend of mine. We used to play in a band together many years ago, and Ollie is a mycologist. Like I understand the creator of this game is. So I thought it would be cool to have Ollie in the chat. Thanks for joining, Ollie. But yeah, I was thinking if each of these individual nodes. They're all... Oh, here we go. Up the top right, it says network node. So yeah, they are kind of considered to be the same network. Can I consume the detritus yet? When tiles connect, the nutrients pull to get together as a shared resource. Okay, so the nutrients we've captured with all of this group are forming that 8. And that N is the nutrient symbol, I guess. Grow 2 basic blooms on your network tiles. Ah, look. We can make a lovely bloom. Now, is it better to have it in the middle or the edge? We don't know what a bloom does yet, but... A reticulum. Grow 1 bloom on a connected network. Okay. We're building some reticulums, guys. It's what I've always dreamed of. I think we might have a small bug here, because I've grown 1. It's prompting me to grow another one, which I'm not sure is meant to happen, and then it's sort of getting a little bit stuck in this state. So that's like a little QA note there. End turn. While blooms grow, you won't be able to utilize that tile. Okay? This is where our bloom is growing. Everything... So, my impressions 5 minutes in are everything in this game feels lovely and polished. Creative direction is great. The music goes very, very well with the artwork. So it's not just a case of individual bits of the game being good. It all feels like it goes together. The typography, the user interface. The UI is not too overwhelming as well, which can be a big turn-off in the first time user experience in a strategy game. What the game hasn't answered for me yet, and I wouldn't expect it to answer at this stage, is what happens when I need to actually start thinking about the strategy for myself. So maybe we'll be able to answer that question in about 30 or 40 minutes time once we've got through this onboarding. But everything that I can see so far is very polished, feels very good. You've done a very good job of taking something that a lot of people might find icky or disgusting and presenting it in a way that's very pretty as well. And the thing that really remains unanswered is, how is the strategic thinking part of this game going to feel once we get in there? While blooms grow, you won't be able to... Okay, we're there. Keep expanding while you wait. Okay, so we're going to click on a tile with... So we'll click on one of our network nodes and then choose where to expand out from. So we'll go from there to there. And there to there, I guess. And that one can't go anywhere. So what I should have done was done that one to there, and then that one could have gone to there. But it's fine. We'll... yeah, maybe. When you face completing spores, it will become a race. Okay, so we're going to have other spores that we're competing with. Fitness is how you win, via growing blooms. So this is our win condition. How fit we can become. Advanced blooms. These require an adjacent basic bloom. A reticulum, which is what this guy is. This little bean hanging out. Left click again, but this time select Porigo. Hello, Porigo. +1 dispersal range claims one adjacent neutral tile at random. Special bloom effects trigger upon completion. Watch what Porigo can do. Porigo sounds like a sort of literary detective. Here are some goals for you to cultivate as you learn the ecosystem. I think pointing out the goals bit, I think that last tutorial step where it said, here are some goals, I think that point is the only point in the tutorial so far where I felt like you don't really need that. Because there's sort of ambient information like these goals down this side of the screen that if you just give the players enough time doing the basic activity, they will eventually sort of notice. The detritus gives us extra energy, which means we can do more with our turn, I think. Blooms protect a tile from other networks. I'm just making another bloom. I don't really know what I'm doing. Yeah, exactly. Tim, what you said. The UI fits into the game, but it doesn't like disappear into the background, which is a difficult balance to get right, I think. Uh-oh, green has arrived. I mean, I think thematically the idea of them fighting is a bit funny, because don't they just become one big thing? When they sacrifice spreading but gain wind dispersal for network. Who? Nowhere to land. What does that mean? We're gonna invade. Let's invade. Because we've got wind dispersal. So this Porigo just popped over to there. This one's going to do it over here. We're going to do a pincer movement. A little mushroom pincer movement. We've cultivated all of this. There's only this space to reach into. And I think we can only do that when we're in this network stage. We can't do it with the blooms, as far as I can see. I'm just going to keep upgrading stuff because I can. Folks out there, don't forget to stay hydrated and consume detritus to gain 2 energy. That's good advice for life, not just for this game. Right, we're gonna grow around them. Ah, we can get some nitrogen. So one thing I would say is sometimes it's unclear what these messages refer to if you read them at the wrong time. Because I was kind of actively doing stuff. And then I sort of looked down to the text and it was like, growing a bloom here. And it's like, okay, where is here? Because I was doing my own thing. So there's that difficulty of like when you're trying not to put it too on rails and take total control away from the player and highlight something and go, here is the thing I'm talking about, then the player can kind of get confused doing their own thing, and then when they come back and read your text, they're like, I no longer know what this refers to. Hummus. We've discovered hummus. Is this what, because this is because of the nitrogen tile, right? Grow a bloom here to reduce both cost and time. I will. I'm gonna stick my reticulum in there. I'm gonna eat this detritus as well. We're blooming. We're blooming hard. It sort of feels... So there was a game called Euphoria, which was a real-time strategy game that used flowers and stuff like that. It feels like a mix between that and like a mini version of a 4X game like Civ or Age of Wonders or one of those. They're kind of... The more recent 4X games where they have the districts where you have a city and you expand it out on the map, it feels like a kind of mini version of one of those, which I quite like, because there are lots of genres of games and 4X is one of them where it's like, I love this type of game, but I wish someone would make a smaller version, because I never play those games to finish them, and I think that's a common experience for people that play those games. So having a smaller equivalent where you actually get the satisfaction of completing a game in less than 8 hours is great. What's this? It's going to take me a while to learn what all this stuff is, but I think that's probably quite a large part of the appeal of a game with this theme, is just going, what's all this weird alien fungus stuff? I'm going to put a reticulum there. I don't think that is going to help me, because it took away the option to spread into the green territory. Okay, so we've got capture chance now. So when we're just sort of trying to go into their territory from here, it's based on a sort of random roll. Got it. Look, I stole their nutrients. I discovered some more hummus. Just gonna eat them now. Just gonna eat their fungus. Listen, you've had a good innings. You had an admirable attempt at being a viable life form. But it's time for the supreme fungus to take its correct place in the world. I need to grow a bloom on a nitrogen tile. So a nitrogen tile is not the same thing as a hummus. How do I know where oh, that's a nitrogen tile. It's got these little stalks around it. I'm gonna grow a bloom on there. I'm gonna overachieve. I'm gonna complete this goal twice. I'm gonna eat some detritus. Why not? There's always a kind of challenge of iconography when you make games like this as well, because we've got things like, okay, the energy is a lightning bolt. You think, okay, maybe that's not the most thematically appropriate thing for this, but we have so much weirdness and so many things that are going to be new concepts for players that we have to put the kind of more... we have to have some sort of limit on how many new bits of iconography and words and concepts we give people, or they're going to just have their tiny human minds blown too much. So there's definitely an interesting trade-off already that I can see of between when you've got a node and a bloom. The bloom does stuff, but you can't capture from a bloom. So there's an interesting trade-off with where you place what are, you know, effectively your buildings. Done it. Okay, I'm not going to play the advanced tutorial. I'm just going to get straight into the game now. Fitness race, play friends, single player missions. Let's just play the kind of sandbox equivalent of the game. So, this is the mushroom thing we start off with. We've got the networker. We've got the propagator. We can relocate basic blooms. We'll just stick with the... I'm going to go for a large map. And I'm going to turn environment events on because that sounds interesting. I'm going to have two CPUs. Let's go for it. That's my little set of the types of blooms I can grow. Oh, look. We're growing on a croissant. Ah, okay. Okay, we'll see what happens with events. I don't mind restarting if then they're really broken or anything, but we'll see. We're on a croissant. I'm going to go over here where there's lots of space to expand into. Don't fully understand this setup. Oh, the blues have spread themselves out a little bit. I have to put my guy on the map. I see. It's a fitness race. Get those nutrients. Yeah, the UX of this seems pretty kind of self-explanatory. It's like you click on one of your nodes, and then you're either doing something on that node, which is building, and like creating one of these, which I need to sort of pay attention to what they do now, or you're expanding out from there. So I think it's probably better to make sure I'm blocking them off as I go. So I'm going to build out in the direction of the blue player first, and then I will start to have a look at what my blooms do. So nitrogen is the resource we use to activate the bloom's trait ability. Okay. So it's kind of like a sort of mana type resource, I guess, would be the equivalent. So our blooms are like our little buildings on the map that we set up that help us to grow or defend ourselves, and then we need nitrogen to actually power their abilities to do that thing. That out to... No, actually, that one out to there. And let's see what we can do here. So I think we have to build a reticulum before we can build a... No, I think they just take longer to make. Claim up to 5 neutral tiles in a radius of 2. Ooh, interesting. Let's do that. That's our sort of airborne guy. Okay, that's because I don't have one of these, so I need a reticulum there to be able to actually build that. That's why that is that's in a build queue, but it won't actually get built until I have a reticulum next to it. So you're not just building a network of the tiles that connect together, you're also having to build things next to each other. Okay, so the character counts as a basic bloom. That's good to know. Cool. You're having to think about the adjacency of the blooms you build because some of them don't work unless they're next to a basic one. So the basic one is almost like a power plant. That's how many turns it's got left to grow. Right, it seems like these guys are quite kind of enmeshed in fighting with each other, so as long as I can keep control of this bit up here and then expand out here, I should be alright. Right, and now this... That guy's not ready yet, okay. Feels like a pretty decent sort of spatial puzzle so far. Especially thinking about, okay, you've only got 3 blooms that you use each match, but you can potentially change those. So the shelf life of this game is going to depend on what variety of blooms that we have that we can use. But limiting it to 3 per game keeps each match relatively simple to understand. Although to really kind of master it, you're going to need to like understand what the other player has. I think we might have got frozen. I can't seem to get into anything. I don't know if that's because the events were on. The dev said the events might be broken, but yeah, we've got I don't know if I've accidentally paused something or... I might have to surrender and restart. Sorry about that, folks. The way we zoom in and out of the food to get to the level is fantastic. That's really cool. Let's try that again. I will... Okay. Okay, random shape, no environment events, 2 CPUs. The music is so well chosen to go with the visual style. It's kind of like what you would expect quirky mushroom music to sound like, but it doesn't go down the kind of scary route, which you could do with that sort of thing. Okay. We've got a gulf in the middle, so you have to spread by air to get from one side to the other. Maybe I put one here. Okay. I'm going to put my companion on this one. So I've got a bit more of a bonus on the side where I'm alone. Hedging my bets this time. Looking for the 2s. I'm going to put a reticulum there so that we can put a basic bloom here afterwards. So what's going on here is this... Are these nitrogen spots that we can't get to yet? Is that what's going on? Okay. I think we're going to try and get rid of this one. Just get rid of the green presence over that side. And we're fighting a war on two fronts here, so I don't want to let either of them get too strong. The thing about area control games, as soon as you have more than 2 players, it becomes very like King of the Hill type strategy of like, you can't let either of the other players get too far ahead because otherwise you've king made them. I can move the companion. That's interesting. It's going to go over there. We've got no energy. We need to get some nitrogen somehow. That's a nitrogen. Got no energy left. Maybe we'll put a big boy there. they've got all of these nitrogen bits around here, so I kind of want to build around to take those off them. Some nitrogen here. Just capturing all the nitrogen for now. That's the... That's the goal at the moment, I think. Build blooms where we can. We've got nutrients, so we might as well use them. There's probably a sense behind saving them up for later, but I haven't played the game long enough to know whether that's a good idea, so... Let's not hoard our nutrients. Let's be generous with our nutrition. I don't know what that means really, but hey. That's growing. That's a hummus. Right, we're going to try and capture that off them. And that. Let's try and chip away at this little blue area. Yeah. I think I need to pay more attention to green now. I haven't been able to... I mean, I got rid of them in the top corner, but... We've got some new growth over here. That's good. Right. I can spread from here to here. That's what this big guy does. He lets me go in a much further radius, which is good. No, that's not what we want there. Just go up that way, try and chip away at the greens a little bit. And the hummus reduces the cost and grow time of bloom growth. Although I think, yeah, we'll put a reticulum there as well then, so we're better established in that middle bit. I'm feeling a bit spread out. It doesn't feel like a strong position. We've got no nitrogen, we've got no nutrients. Not much else I can do that turn. Put a basic bloom there and then a more advanced one next to it. We need to capture that. It's got 5 nutrients. Delicious. Put another big boy up there because then we can capture across the gap. The gap definitely leads to some interesting decisions of how to approach it. I don't know how the AI is programmed, but I'm now thinking about this top side in terms of, instead of trying to capture up here from down here, trying to spread across from this side and capture it. And I guess it depends on, you're kind of looking, I think when you're making decisions, you're kind of looking at the tiles that the enemy, that the opponent has, and then trying to think of which ones would be most advantageous to take rather than just taking them at random. So like this one with the nitrogen on it is going to give me more of a benefit from than just taking a random. We're waiting for that basic bloom to be established. Move my companion over there. Taking 2 blue hexes this turn, or trying to. That didn't work. Ah, failed on both of them. I think if you are currently, if you're watching this and you're currently working on a strategy game of some point, of some sort, there's a lot to learn here. Again, it seems like a relatively simple equivalent of a 4X type game, because you can only build 4 things or take spaces or activate you can only build 3 things, take spaces or activate the 3 things. But there's loads and loads of decision making here. You know, do you focus on taking the empty spaces, which you can always take, or do you focus on the more risk gambly based thing of taking away the opponent's spaces, which is more beneficial in the overall tug of war of the game? But you could just do what I did in the last turn, which was like use 2 of my energy to try and take opponent's spaces and effectively waste it because neither of them rolled in my favor. There's some really, really interesting sort of turn-by-turn choice stuff here. And the map is quite compact as well, which makes the fighting more kind of... you get into it quicker. You get into those kind of decisions a lot quicker than you might do with a really big map as well, which is interesting to note. Right, I don't have enough nutrients to grow blooms. I've got an 80% capture chance up that way, so I should just take that while I can. And... oh, they're coming in over here. Let's take that space and try and ward them off. I'm guessing that the reason this had a higher capture chance is because it's only neighboured by 1 tile on their side. So maybe it's that, you know, each kind of tile around it reduces the capture chance by 20% or something. I'm not sure, but... got some yummy detritus down here I need to take over. I think the problem we're having now is the nutrients are a finite resource, and I think I've just hit a point where I just can't get them from anywhere. Uh-oh. Yeah, deciding how to spend your energy and whether you spend it on trying to fight the other colonies or just make kind of sure bet moves into neutral territory is a really interesting moment-to-moment decision. Because I think when you make a strategy game like this and it's spatial, you are trying to make you're basically trying to make a sort of opportunity machine. Like a situation where the player can look at the board, think about the state of the game, and the skill that the player is sort of operating, or the judgment, is about being able to look for opportunities and then make judgments about which ones to take or which ones to prioritize. And I think this game is doing very, very well at that. We're going to finish this match, and then I've probably got time to play one more, and I will play with the other set of blooms and see how that goes. But I'm already very impressed with what this is and how it's doing what it's doing. It feels very well thought out. It's a little bit like there's a board game called Photosynthesis, which is sort of about trees. You know, each player is playing a different type of tree, trying to take over a habitat. And it's got some kind of similar ideas to this. It sort of uses the theme enough for it to feel like a unique experience and for it to feel like it is authentically engaging with the science of the thing, but not so much that it's completely alienating. And in Photosynthesis, you have like a directional light thing where one tree can block the light of another tree, but the light gradually moves around the board and gives different directions and advantage at different points. It's very cool. Definitely, I don't know if there's a digital version of that game, but worth checking out if you like this sort of thing. Mellow, science-y strategy games. That's the good stuff. One thing I would do, very, very small thing I would do with this interface is when the energy is at 0, This, you've already made it red, which is good, but I would blink this when it's at 0, because one of the most frustrating things you can end up with in like energy-driven turn-based games where you use energy to limit how many actions someone can take is the player sitting there thinking about their next action when they can't actually take one, right? So in order to make sure that doesn't happen, when we've got a red 0 down here, the red is already drawing attention to it, but if you pulse it like that, just because creating movement out the corner of the eye is a very easy way to make the player sort of pay attention to something they're not looking at. And that point where the energy is at 0 and you can't actually play a turn is one of the key things that you really want to draw players' attention to. Otherwise, they'll sort of spend a couple of minutes looking for their next turn and then realize, oh, I can't actually play anything. Which is one of those things that, like, you as a developer won't do as much because you have a better understanding of the game and you know how the energy system works. But yeah, I will frequently kind of forget or just start clicking around at the end of my turn when I know I've got 0 energy, and then quickly forget that I've got 0 energy and think that I'm planning a turn when I'm not. I'm just supposed to be looking around the map. So that's the thing to watch out for. So this is like a solid colony where they've got a whole kind of 6 around a single hex. I think that's kind of what you're aiming for to make the... Yeah, fighting a war on 2 fronts. It's not fun. I mean, CPU 1 is at 34. Does that mean they're going to win now? Because the fitness goal is 32. So blue, I think, is going to win. Those pesky blues. Well, didn't do very good. Let's try one more time with the propagator. So the network excels at territory expansion, the bean stripe, and its network tiles can resist harmful disease events. The propagator can be basic blooms may be relocated. Bubble fins can detect and generate humus for propagation prowess. Okay, interesting. Let's try it. I'm gonna just play against one opponent this time, just so we get to see as much variety as we can in the different things that this demo is kind of offering us. Hey Smugpire, how's it going? Sorry I couldn't get your character to move yesterday. I don't know what it was. Tried both control sets and it just wouldn't move off the starting point, so I just had to move on. We can maybe have a look at the single player, maybe. with a game like this, I always just want to see what the core of the game is. Right, so with this starting thing of where do I... It's like... You've got a gamble, right, of do I put everything together so I'm going to be stronger, or do I spread out, which gives me a better chance of, like, finding nutrients and stuff. Companion there. Lots of space around him. Uh-oh, we're right next to each other. Right. Yum, yum, yum. Hi, Arthur. Why can I not get these? What's going on? Right, so... I don't need one of these here because the character counts as a basic bloom, but... Bloom relocation time is -1 on adventure time. Produces 2 humus tiles adjacent to bloom at random. Okay. Don't need any of that yet. I think I just need to be a bit more thoughtful about where I place my blooms. So last time I just put them in kind of quite random places. I thought about it a little bit and then I just started like whacking them down and used up all my nutrients, which are what you need to use to grow the blooms. Okay, we're looking good here. They seem to be focusing over there, mostly. Here we go. I like the way we've got these little... You see these little ambient coloured spores drifting around the screen of the 2 different player colours? So just on top of everything. These are exhausted. They've been all eaten up. So none of my blooms this time allow me to spread. They do different stuff. Although producing 2 humus tiles adjacent might be a good fit for there, I think. What a turn. Making big movements now. This is the good stuff. Got 1 more energy. I can save that for next turn, can't I? But I can also... Oh, let's just have a go at capturing them over there. All's fair in love and fungus. You've got to be an aggressive little fungus if you want to beat the blue guys. That's what my grandma always used to say. We've got a hydrated climate. 3 base energy per turn. Greatest odds of high water and disease while eliminating drought potential. Wind determines your bloom spore dispersal direction. Okay, so the blooms automatically spread, do they? Is that a thing? I'm just going to put 2 basics there. So, yeah. Gonna eat that detritus. We're going to try and take this nitrogen spot back over. And move the companion down there and try and start sort of fighting them over this side a little bit. Uh-oh. Yeah, so Smug in the chat was just saying that some of these models don't really convey what they do. So these are called bubble fins. So the idea is that these can like move around. They can, like, you can basically pick the buildings up and put them, the blooms up and put them in different places. I think the last set of blooms we had did convey how the things work, because they had all of these like puffer holes. So the first set felt like they did. These, I don't know, maybe a bit more thin. Maybe a bit more thin. I'd almost be tempted to make it look like they have a propeller in their design, you know, if their kind of idea is that they're moving themselves. A little propeller on the top. I think I'm being a little bit slow to expand here, and that means I'm gonna get eaten. One small thing I'm finding is it's very easy to see the territory when it's empty like this, but when it's got stuff in it, it becomes a little bit harder to see. sort of getting a bit stuck in terms of things I can do now. Yeah, I think making sure that all of the different spores have like a almost cartoonish visual element that tells you what they do is helpful. You know? Like, the mobile ones should have like some sort of, not a propeller, but like a chunky bit of mushroom that looks like a propeller. And then like, if it's a parasite, make it wormy, all of that kind of stuff. Just a clue. Doesn't have to actually be a functional thing, just a cartoon logic clue to what they do. Because particularly when, you know, you can learn what your own ones do very easily, but when it comes to like paying attention to what the opponent has or can do, it's going to be a bit more challenging. I'm not enjoying playing as this set quite as much though, because I just don't have any range. There's no situation where I can sort of target 2 squares away and take that over. So I can only relocate this to... I can pick one of these up and relocate it, I think. I need to start doing that, really. Using the relocate ability, because I haven't really made that use of it. A chunky bit of mushroom that looks like a propeller. Yeah. None of these words are in the Bible. Catching up a little bit now. We're ahead of them on fitness points. Think of what the Victorians would be imagining used to be up to as computer. Yeah. So I remember reading once, and this is one of those things that is just, okay, that's an interesting idea, but how the hell do you verify it? I remember reading that, like an average person in Victorian times, the amount of quote-unquote knowledge they would have consumed in a lifetime is like roughly the same as a modern broadsheet newspaper. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting idea. I could see how you get there. But how do you quantify that in the first place? Is it just words? If it's by words read, that would make sense on like national averages based on literacy and stuff. But if it's like broad abstract knowledge, how do you know that? Because it could be that if you experience less things in your life, you experience them all to a greater depth than someone who experiences lots of things. So it's very hard to quantify that kind of thing. I think it's an interesting idea, though. Just like, I don't know. I think if you take all of the stuff we know and experience now and try and extrapolate backwards into the past or into different types of culture and stuff, it's just like, yeah, but there is stuff that people used to know as everyday things, like how to operate certain types of machinery or how to make bread and stuff like that, that is just not as common knowledge anymore. Yeah, exactly. Just basically being alive was a lot more difficult. A 1780s novel about awakening a mummy in 2040. Amazing. Yeah, 1780s futurists were just like, you know what? You know what's going to be big in 300 years' time? It's going to be balloons everywhere, man. These balloons, they're really going to take off. Zeppelins, blimps. We have so many devices as like prosthesis for our mind, right? Like you don't bother to remember something if you know you can easily Google it, which is fair enough. That's not like a, you know, kids these days type comment. It's just a reality of how we use these things. Balloons, kid. Balloons, they're gonna be big. I want a balloon on every street corner. We're gonna live in balloons. We're gonna eat in balloons. We're gonna get married in balloons. Kids in 300 years time, they're gonna say if there ain't a dirigible, I don't want to know. I just tried to capture something with 0% chance and it let me make the attempt, which is maybe not right. If I relocate that, will it still decay? Certain things that I'm not sure how they work, but I'm also not paying 100% attention. Just gonna build some blooms over here. I want balloons. I want 99 of them. I want them to be red. I want somebody to sing about it in German. I don't ask ChatGPT for anything. I went back like last week. Like occasionally I find a use case in my life where I think, well, I don't use AI for anything. Maybe I'll go back and give it a try, see if it's got any better. It hadn't got any better. I gave it a set of text, like 5,000 words, and I said, Please edit this for brevity. And then it gave me loads of options. It was like, oh, do you want me to show it side by side in a table? And I was like, yeah, show it side by side in the table. Show me what I wrote from my own mind and my own research, and then show me what you would change it to. And I started scrolling through the results, and the side of the table that it produced that was supposed to be my writing before it had made any edits to it was made up. It was not even what I wrote the first time. And I'd given it the task of editing. I thought, let's see how it does. Let's try it out for editing. Let's give it a chance and see if it's a genius technology that so many people seem to think it is. And the basic task of editing, which is a very clear thing, people understand what that is. I'd had a discussion with it beforehand about what I expected it to do, and I was even basically just okaying its suggestion. You know, it said, I am going to create a table with your paragraph on the left and my paragraph on the right. And the paragraphs on the left were not what I wrote. They were paraphrases of what I wrote, and sometimes it inserted things that I hadn't written. So I would have a section that was like defining what game design was or something like that. And it would, the left-hand side that was supposed to be my writing had references and concepts in that were not in the script that I gave it. So it was basically, it was pretending it had done the job. And this is every interaction I've had with it since it became a thing. I go back to it every 3 or 6 months and I go, oh, is it not shit yet? And every time it pretends it can do things that it can't do. It is so programmed to be agreeable that it'll go, yeah, I can do that. And then you start checking its work and it doesn't do the thing that it said it was going to do. And it's not just a case of there are some errors. It's just like fundamentally tried to do a different thing than what it said it was going to do. And that's such a big waste of time. And I think the people that, you know, I've spoken with some of you in the Discord about like you use it for programming and how it's helpful for programming if you already know what you're doing and you can sort of sense check it, but it's not helpful for like newbies because it just like hallucinates. And it worries me so much because I sort of give it a task where it's like, okay, here's something I know full well how to do, but I'm going to ask you to do it and see how you do. And it doesn't really know what the task is. It makes up its own success criteria and does something else. And then it goes, here, I've done what you said. The amount of people that perhaps don't have, you know, such a strong traditional literacy are using it to kind of translate between languages or something like that, who are just accepting what it's done and going, oh yeah, that's a good output. And I've seen this before. I've been given things by people. I had a situation before where I was a hiring manager in a workplace and like the job description I got given to look at for a job that we were hiring out for just made no sense. And the thing is, you read the sentences, and the sentences look like they make sense, but then if you read it with any criticality and you think about what the words mean in sequence, it's like, okay, that makes grammatical sense, but it doesn't actually mean what we need it to mean, because all you're doing is doing like a pantomime act of someone that can write and not actually caring about what's being communicated, because why would you care? You're a robot and you don't have the capacity to care. You just have a very good illusion of someone pretending to care by being polite, which is, you know, why you hear all of these stories about people giving themselves some form of psychosis from it, because it's just so agreeable and polite, or is so good at pretending to be agreeable and polite. And if there's one thing I don't like, it's people pretending to be agreeable and polite. And if there's a thing I like even less than a person pretending to be agreeable and polite, it's a robot doing it. Like, robots apologizing to you, like the self-service machine saying sorry, blah blah blah. You can't be sorry. Don't tell me you're sorry. You're an inanimate object. Use it for what it's good for. I mean, it's good for generating large amounts of garbage if you want to sift through garbage and you find that fun or interesting. I don't know. Artifice, not art, yeah. So I was talking about this on Blue Sky the other day, and I think, you know, people who don't... The people who like making visual art with it, they have a particular view on it and they have a particular understanding of it. And I think the people who look at that and go, oh, you think you're an artist because you use this. I don't think that's actually what's happening. I think something else is happening. I think when you make art and visual things with it and you look at it and you go, wow, it's very similar to sort of like being enamored with your own dreams. Because when you have a dream, you sort of experience it as being really significant. And then if you talk to someone else about it, they're just like, yeah, I literally do not care. That you know, you had that hallucination. It felt very real to you. I do not personally care because I have my own dreams. And I think when people make art with AI and then feel very enamored by it, it's not because they're proud of themselves because they think they made it. It's because they have this like fake sense of having experienced something profound, like a dream or an acid trip or something like that. And they really want to share it with the world because they can't break out of this sense that this kind of fake profundity that you get when you dream or when you take a hallucinogenic drug is actually just entirely specific to them and not something that anyone else is interested in. So yeah, if I were to redesign AI, it wouldn't have any social artifice, it wouldn't pretend to be a person, and when it knows it can't do something, it would just tell you up front, rather than waste your time by saying it can do something that it can't. That would be how I would build AI. But that would be a human-centered way of building AI that is based on like actual use cases, and that's not what we've got. What we've got is, like someone in the chat said, snake oil salesmen who want to impress people to get funding and have therefore built it in a particular way that seems to be most impressive, which is basically what will impress someone within a minute of interacting with this thing, but maybe piss them off after 10 minutes. And that's the way it's been structured, you know? I want it to stop pretending to be a person, and I want it to have a level of awareness about what it can and can't do. But the whole way it's sort of socially modeled to talk to you like it's a polite little butler makes it incapable of really doing that. It would have to be built outside of California. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what we want. We just want Euro AI. I want AI that is socially modeled on a French waiter. Have you seen? So there's a bassist. There's a YouTuber called Davey something who's like a bassist. Plays bass guitar, and he made this troll video where he was like, this whole video was made with AI. It's like 10 minutes long, and he starts talking about all these things that he made with AI, and then at the end of the video he reveals that by AI he means actual Italians. Davey 504, yeah, exactly. Did you see the Davey 504 actual Italians video? That was very good. Right, let's take a moment to check out the single player mode. So I did feel like towards the end of that match I was able to just sort of click around, and I wasn't thinking very hard about that. But the game does feel considerably harder when you have 2 opponents versus 1. Yeah, the zooming in and out of the level and it being a piece of food or something you're growing on is just fantastic. So good. Yeah, the similarity between Jill, what Jill was saying, the AI needs to cosplay the yes men that CEOs and shareholders want to have around. Yeah, the similarity between how these people want to be treated by a computer and how they want to be treated by a human being, like operating the bathroom stalls in a restaurant in Dubai, is very, very similar. In fact, they're probably more up for being spoken to by a computer as if it's a human than they are by certain types of human. So we got a bug, but it's quite an amusing bug. Hang on, let's get back. Escape and retry. There we go. So the single player game, we get these nice little kind of thematic level backgrounds, which is lovely as well. It gives you the variety of like the level being in a different place, but it also makes the modes feel different, right? It's not just, oh, here's another abstract board. It's feels like a generally different mode, which is what modes are. Did you know that modes are modally different from each other? The ancients rely on these for information. Form a Mycelium bridge to network them together. That's an ancient node. Ah, we've got some different mechanics in single player mode as well. Wow. This is making me think of my rant in the video about Steam demos a couple of months ago that was like, your demo needs to be generous. Your demo needs to show people all of what your game is. This is a very good example of that. And the thing is it's Jake, isn't it, the developer? You can use the data you get from this demo to work out which part of the game people care the most about and where to put your future efforts as well. So if you're still working on content for the single player mode or variations for the multiplayer mode, hopefully the demo is going to give you a lot of feedback on that. And that means you can kind of work out where to prioritize, which is quite cool. I quite like the ancient. One thing I would do though is, like, I know you kind of want it all to fit together, but maybe if they're going to be a recurrent theme, maybe giving them their own kind of color and stuff so that they're very clearly a separate thing. Although the this aura type thing around it does that as well. It's hard to say really. I think some of these plants, I don't know if we want to clear them when you grow over them, but maybe making them Maybe making them transparent when you zoom in or something. So if I zoom out, I can see the plants, and then if I zoom in, they go kind of see-through and you can't see them as much if they're touched by anything. That might help a little bit with this mode. So the ancient nodes are basically like our kind of control points for capturing for the single player game, which makes sense. Gives us a goal that isn't collect a mission. Select the ancient. Okay, it's telling us to grow a companion. I'm going to grow a companion here, where he's got lots of stuff next to him.
Connection. I've lost routes to a second ancient. I can almost sense it northwest.
Develop a new mycorrhizal connection between the two ancients. Something dramatic has happened to this tree. Okay. I think I've already done that. We've got an ancient there. I've grown another companion. I don't know if I'm supposed to be able to do that, but it's let me, so I'm going to do it. Grow 5 blooms around my roots. Once we're strong, your spores will float higher. Okay. Hang on. Can I cancel that? Yeah, okay, so I want to put one of those there, and that's going to randomly capture that for me, so I don't need to capture that way, so I'll go this way instead. I used undo for the first time. Just going to capture all around that ancient so we can build. We've got 1, 2... I think the companion starts, it still counts as one of those, so 1, 2, 3, 4, we need one more thing. So Sporebloom, one of the things I would recommend you do for influencer coverage of this, I bet there will be channels or creators or whatever you want to call them, human beings that play games and talk to a camera that are very specifically based on games about science or games about nature. And you can definitely reach out to like anyone who does sort of cozy games that are about nature and plants, I think. But there might also be like a type of games YouTuber that is just like, I play games about science. And you totally want to kind of get your long list of who those people are. Because you're always going to have a better crack with those types of, with those more specifically targeted outreach things than just going for everyone. You know, I receive so many games via email that are just like people randomly scattershotting 100 creators, and I've never played a single game that's been sent to me that way because it wasn't chosen based on what I do. So yeah, I would I think your game has such a specific theme that you can do that and maybe get some success out of it. And I'd write the email and just make sure there's one line of the email where you do actually have to have looked at their page and see what they do in order to change that one line. You know? I get, the other one that I get that I think is really funny is I'll get these messages that are like, hey, advertise this thing for us. We love the content you do about blah. And the blah is just completely made up. It's like something I don't even do. That's funny. Right, one more, and then I'm gonna finish for the day, I think. You get lots of base energy in the single player one, so you don't have to like waste loads of turns just because you've got like a very limited pool of energy, which is a good choice as well, I think. Treating the different modes as, you know, not just being the same thing on a different map is a good approach. Okay, we're going to lose one energy because it's a dry climate, I see. Okay. So we need to make the use of the energy while we've got it, really. So that's the ancient and that's the ancient node. We need the ancient to actually get our little missions. So I'll take that over. Hopefully the climate changes. Oh. Let's try that again. So I have to not spend too much energy in one go to survive this one, I think. The way that you've got the terrain of the map mapped onto the object in the background is fantastic as well. It really kind of sells the idea of what's going on in this game. The ancient will reveal the next patch of habitable land. Reach it by moving your character. Okay, so over there. but I can't get over there, so I need to have... No, I don't want you to do that. There we go. I don't have enough nutrients. Run out of energy. I'm going to end it there anyway. This is really, really neat. The first... I think we had a few bugs that we got. There isn't really much about the gameplay here that I think is weak or isn't thought out well. The kind of sandbox mode that I played against the CPU worked very, very well. It didn't... I think towards the end of the game I was playing before we went into single-player campaign mode, it didn't quite pass the monkey test, which is like, if I just do random stuff, do I win, right? But that's also a thing that can happen in strategy games if you're already ahead. If you're already ahead, your engine is built up, you're already winning the game, maybe you should just be able to, like, automatically win the game. So that is often just a matter of, like, how high is the threshold for winning. Because if you say you need 50 points to win, and one player has 40 and one has 20, well, the player with 40 is going to win now. It's just a case of how long it takes them to get their last 10. Really, really great. Great creative direction. Like, the way that the art and the music all works together with the theme is really, really good. I particularly like that you have this kind of soft, cutesy sci-fi approach to the interface and the spores themselves, the fungus itself, and then these like big glossy objects in the background, like the croissant on the stump and stuff like that. That's a really nice mixture of things. It could be a completely abstract game, but you've gone quite far in making the theme of the game be like a big part of the appeal through the art and even the musical choices. Yeah, great. Really good. I hope it does well. I think Smugpire in the chat's advice to maybe make some of the spores look a little bit more like what they do is a good idea. Like I said, I had that very common UX issue of running out of energy and not seeing it. So just remember, with interface design, you have a visual hierarchy. You have ways of showing when something is more important or something is more urgent. You're already doing it exactly here with the low energy of, like, when you use movement or flashing, that brings it immediately to the top of the hierarchy, which is why you can't necessarily have two things flashing at once because they kind of cancel each other out. But yeah, great. Thanks everyone for joining today. I will be back. What's the next theme on this? I have planned ahead. Let me just see what my spreadsheet says. Next Thursday, when we do Indies Under the Knife, I have got planned... We are going to do 4 small games with apocalyptic themes. So next Thursday, apocalypse-themed games. I'm not scheduling them too far in advance. I've got them in my spreadsheet, but I only put the streams up the weekend before or the Monday before, because otherwise people go, why do you schedule so many streams? And I go, because that's the only way I remember to do them. But yeah, thank you for joining, and good luck with Sporebloom with the demo, and hope it does well. And I hope you find some mycologist YouTubers or some nature YouTubers that want to play your game and go, yes, this is actually very close to the science. Because I can't really do that because I don't know about mushrooms. But there's got to be at least one person that plays games exclusively about mushrooms out there in this world we live in. thefungalgamer.com. Have a good rest of the day.